the largest AIDS conference on Earth, takes place every 2 years. People travel from all over the world just to be there. Why? Because it isn't just about research. It's about human rights, sexuality, politics, and even culture. I'm Mark S. King, and I'm blogging from AIDS 2010 in Vienna. Welcome to day 3 of AIDS 2010 in Vienna. You know, if you've been watching these blogs, you probably feel a little ripped off because I haven't been showing you any of the city. Well, take a good look. This is Vienna. It's a typical street, and it's pretty beautiful, isn't it? You know, speaking of streets, that's where AIDS activism began. It began in the streets where people, a lot of them living with AIDS, said, I want treatment, I want access, I want this stigma to end, I want people to help me. And that happened in the streets of New York and Paris and London and around the world. And it's still happening today, and it's going to happen tonight. Because tonight there is a human rights rally and march here in Vienna. It's the first time that as part of the International AIDS Conference they had a human rights march. And isn't it about time? So first, let's go to a reception of the people who are going to put on AIDS 2012 in Washington, and then we'll get to that rally. Let's go. A virtual who's who of community AIDS advocates celebrated their plans to bring the next conference, AIDS 2012, to Washington, D.C. I spoke to everyone's favorite AIDS leader, Paul Kawada of the National Minority AIDS Council, about his personal highlights of the conference so far. What did you learn from this conference that you didn't know?
Well, obviously the tenofovir. You know, the tenofovir study was extraordinary.
The tenofovir is the big story. It's a gel that can kill HIV. As opposed to condoms, there's another way of using it.
And for me, what it means is the lives of thousands and thousands, if not millions of women, particularly women in Africa. And when they announced the trial results, I have to tell you, I started to cry.
I heard a lot of people started crying.
Because when you think of the millions of lives that this is going to save, and to give control back to these women, it is really a moment in our epidemic, and it is a time when we can give power back to women, particularly women of color, when we can give them some control so that they can be safe. I mean, it's extraordinary.
Well, look, we got a lot of work to do because we got to hit the streets for a human rights rally and march. Are you going to be there?
Of course.
All right.
Lennox.
That's right.
What's not to love?
We'll see you later. The statues stood watch. They've seen these kinds of crowds through the centuries, this kind of passion before. But we had the urgency only the present can claim. We draped the monuments with our own icons, adding our history, coloring the streets of Vienna with splashes of life and hope and a demand that things get better. The calls for justice and compassion came in shouts and song and whistles and drum beats. It was a call to action, a celebration, a memorial. It was a sea of humanity, of nationalities and races and ages and lives combined for one night, for one purpose. Voices chanted in a patchwork of languages, calling out to Vienna, to the whole world, to history itself.
We want to show the public that HIV and AIDS is an issue.
I want better rights for people living with HIV. I want them not to be criminalised. I want them to have access.
So say, wake up to the people of the world.
We want to protect it in the workplace, and we want our employers to respect us because we're HIV positive.
So baby, talk to me like you always do. You
So wasn't that great? I mean, I'm all hot and sweaty and a little sticky, you know, but what a great march, and the fact that they're talking about human rights and the way out of AIDS, the way towards better treatment for people with AIDS, and the better treatment of people is for human rights. So I had to get some rest because we got 2 more days of this conference to go, and it's another long night. So see you tomorrow, keep watching the blog, and thanks a lot.